Something unexpected is happening on Trump's Asia tour. What was supposed to be Trump's grand tour of victory across Asia has started to look more like a global shakedown for cash. He came in with confidence, demanding hundreds of billions from America's biggest partners, but left facing a quiet rebellion wrapped in smiles, golf games, and golden gifts. Every country he visited seems to have played him differently. Japan with clever finance, Korea with flattery, and China with silence that hides a deeper strategy. Trump's goal was simple: to make America look strong again, to prove that his tariffs and pressure tactics bring money home. But behind the scenes, Japan managed to twist his demands into a loan scheme that actually benefits Tokyo. At the same time, the US is panicking over its tech war with China, where Nvidia's $5 trillion empire depends on Beijing's willingness to buy. Even America's closest allies are reading the room. South Korea turned diplomacy into theater, and Canada is quietly rethinking its loyalty as new opportunities rise in Asia. Trump wanted dominance, but what he got instead was a lesson in how far the world has moved on, and how fast Asia is learning to play his game. Trump's first big stop in Asia was Japan, and it was supposed to be his biggest win. He arrived demanding $550 billion from Tokyo, calling it a strategic investment in America's future. But behind the smiles and golf outings, Japan quietly rewrote the deal. The final agreement looks nothing like what Trump asked for. Only 1% to 2% of that money, around $10 billion, will actually be direct cash investments. The rest is structured as loans and loan guarantees, which means Japan won't be losing money at all. It will be earning interest, just like any other creditor. To the cameras, it looked like a friendship built on trust. In reality, Tokyo pulled off a perfect judo flip. By turning Trump's demands into debt instruments, Japan secured both political goodwill and financial returns. It's the kind of move that makes Trump look triumphant at home, while Japan quietly benefits abroad. The whole performance was pure kabuki theater, beautiful, polite, and brilliantly calculated. Even Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick seemed to reveal more than he intended when he spoke at the signing event.
So I'm sorry I left you down. I didn't get to 500 billion. I came a little short, but we'll get there. Anyway, so these deals are driven by the Japanese Strategic Investment Initiative, which was created by your tariff policy and by your historic trade agreement with Japan. So that was the underlying reason that we were able to get all these deals done today.
That short speech says everything. The initiative he praises was actually Japan's response to Trump's tariffs, a mechanism that allows Tokyo to lend, not give. Private Japanese companies will provide most of the money, while the government only steps in if those loans default. Japan earns interest, avoids risk, and still gets to call it cooperation. While Trump celebrates another incredible victory, Japan has just reminded the world that it can protect its interests with a handshake and a smile, and walk away richer for it. After Japan's financial judo flip, Trump's next headache came from a far more complex front: technology. He has spent years blocking the sale of high-end AI chips to China, confident that Washington could choke Beijing's ambitions. But that wall has started to crumble. China struck back by cutting off Nvidia, the very company that made America's AI revolution possible. Now, Trump finds himself in an awkward position. To keep the US tech bubble alive, he might actually need Beijing's help. Nvidia is no ordinary firm. It has become the world's most valuable company, worth an unbelievable $5 trillion. That valuation depends on one thing: global demand for its chips, and a massive portion of that demand used to come from China. Without Chinese buyers, those sky-high numbers start to look fragile. Trump knows this, and so do investors. That's why his team is already floating the idea of asking, or even begging, China to buy the new Blackwell B200 chip. It's still unclear whether China will be allowed to purchase the real B200 or a weakened version, but the logic behind the US push is simple. If Chinese companies can import American chips again, they might slow down their own domestic R&D. Why develop your own when you can buy directly from the world leader? But Beijing has already seen through that trap. When China blocked Nvidia's older models, The goal was to force local companies to innovate. It's starting to work. Huawei's Ascend 910C chip now delivers around 800 teraflops. That's 800 trillion calculations per second. It's still about 3 times weaker than Nvidia's B200, but the gap is closing much faster than the US expected. The main challenge for China isn't design, it's production. Without access to the most advanced lithography machines from ASML or Tokyo Electron, Chinese chipmakers have to improvise. So they've begun linking multiple domestic chips together into massive computing clusters. It's a clever workaround that boosts total power without requiring cutting-edge tools. Alibaba has already taken this approach further. By using an advanced pooling system, the company managed to get a 9-fold performance increase, turning 213 chips into the computing equivalent of almost 1,200. It's a powerful message. China can still compete, even under tight sanctions. Then comes the breakthrough from DeepSeek, China's large-scale AI model. It stores data in just 8 bits instead of the usual 16 or 32, removing the fractional component entirely. That makes it far more efficient and cheap to operate, reportedly 10 times cheaper than ChatGPT when it first launched. These advances may look small individually, but together they mark a shift in direction. Beijing's long game is about self-sufficiency. Every chip built, every optimization made, brings China closer to technological independence. Trump's restrictions have only accelerated that process. Washington may try to reopen the door now, not because it wants to, but because the US tech industry desperately needs Chinese demand to sustain its inflated value. And as China keeps improving at a remarkable pace, Trump is slowly realizing that without Beijing, even America's trillion-dollar AI empire could start to crack. As the AI standoff deepens, Beijing knows it holds the stronger cards. Every American move now comes with a Chinese counteroffer, and this time it's not about tariffs, it's about technology and resources. Washington wants China to reopen its market for US chips, especially Nvidia's Blackwell B200, but Beijing won't make that move for free. Behind closed doors, Chinese advisors are quietly setting the terms. If the US wants chip exports to resume, then restrictions on rare earths and semiconductor machinery must go. These are the materials and tools that make the entire high-tech world run, from magnets in fighter jets to lasers inside ASML and Tokyo Electron lithography machines. Without them, even America's most advanced factories can't function at full capacity. Beijing's strategy is simple but powerful. It wants Washington to lift the export bans on chip-making tools while restoring China's freedom to buy that same technology. In return, Trump would get his short-term victory, China purchasing billions in Nvidia chips. But for Beijing, it would mean securing the machinery needed to close the gap with the US once and for all. Trump's team is beginning to realize that leverage cuts both ways. America may dominate in chip design, but China controls the foundation, the minerals, the magnets, and the market access. And that quiet balance of power is what could turn a trade deal into a long-term shift in who truly leads the global tech race. South Korea's approach to Trump was completely different from Japan's financial maneuvers, but just as clever. Instead of arguing or pushing back, Seoul used charm and symbolism to get what it wanted. During Trump's visit, the South Korean president presented him with a gold crown and the Grand Order of Mugunghwa, the country's highest civilian honor. It was the first time this award had ever been given to a US president. The gesture worked perfectly. The White House proudly reposted the ceremony, showing Trump beaming with approval. For Seoul, that single moment of flattery paid off in real economic gains. Trump agreed to cut tariffs from 25% to 15%, a huge relief for Korean exporters who had been struggling under his trade pressure. The deal was valued at $350 billion, but the structure was designed entirely to protect Korea's finances. About $150 billion will go into shipping investments, a plan to help the US rebuild its shipping industry, at least on paper. The remaining $200 billion will be a mix of equity, loans, and guarantees, similar to Japan's arrangement. Payments will be capped at $20 billion per year, spread over a decade, allowing Seoul to control the pace and risk of the deal. For Korea, this was smart diplomacy disguised as generosity. It secured tariff relief, protected reserves, and won Trump's personal favor, all without giving up real leverage. A golden crown bought soul time, influence, and breathing room in an unpredictable global trade war. Trump's trade war has finally reached a breaking point with one of America's closest allies, Canada. After a public dispute involving a local political ad, Trump's team announced a new 10% tariff on Canada. The decision shocked Ottawa and frustrated Washington's own diplomats. When reporters asked about it, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tried to calm the situation, but his words revealed more frustration than control.
Will the 10% tariffs apply to all Canadian goods, Mr. Secretary?
Kristen, I've been traveling since this unfortunate event happened. I know that the ad's been taken down. So, we'll have to see. But I just think it was terrible judgment by this premier, who has a bit of a reputation for being a hothead.
That short exchange says everything. The U.S. isn't acting from strategy anymore. It's reacting to headlines. For Canada, the damage is immediate. Nearly 76% of all Canadian exports go to the United States. These include aluminum, lumber, oil, and natural gas, all moved through ports and pipelines built specifically for U.S. trade. When tariffs rise overnight, the entire system shakes. Since 2018, China has been selling more to the Canadian market, while Canada's own exports have stalled. The reason is simple. Ottawa lacks the oil infrastructure to send large cargoes to Asia. That's why Mark Carney is now pushing for an Asia pivot, exploring trade with China, Japan, and Southeast Asia before it's too late. Ottawa is even considering removing the 100% tariffs it once placed on Chinese electric vehicles, along with 25% tariffs on Chinese steel and aluminum. If that happens, American automakers like Ford, GM, and Tesla could face a new wave of competition from BYD and other Chinese brands setting up plants inside Canada. At the same time, China could lift bans on Canadian beef and canola oil, reopening markets that have been closed for years. Trump's Asia tour was meant to show American strength, but it revealed something else entirely. His unpredictable tariffs and constant pressure are now pushing even U.S. allies to look east for stability and new opportunities. Japan turned his demands into profit, Korea used ceremony to win relief, and Canada is quietly shifting toward Asia's orbit. Each handshake that was meant to display power instead exposed how much leverage the U.S. has lost. The world is no longer waiting for Washington's approval. It's charting its own course. Will China take the bait and buy Nvidia's chips? Did Japan and Korea just outplay Trump? Share your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe as we track this global shift. See you in the next one.